Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. We are talking in this particular video about H-1Bs. So, what is an H-1B? Why is it so popular? And what do you have to do to get one? Well, basically, the H-1B is probably the most popular work visa that there is. Of all the different work visas, and there's a lot of them, the O, the L1, the L1B, E1, E2, and so on. The H-1B is referred to as a specialty occupation visa. And the specialty occupation visa basically means that you have to have a college degree, that's the minimum, and that the job has to require the use of that degree. So, for example, you couldn't, have a degree in accounting and get a job as a cashier, okay? Because number one, to have a job as a cashier, you don't need a college degree. Likewise, you couldn't, for example, have a degree in accounting and get a job as an engineer, because to be an engineer, you don't need an accounting degree. So it needs to be related, and there are ways of working a position where you think there's absolutely no way that you could make an H-1B work with the particular degree, but if you're creative, meaning if your attorney's creative, then there are ways to do that. So for example, I had one case where the owner owned an ice skating rink, and the person he wanted to petition on H-1B had an English degree. So you ask yourself, how on earth can you have an English degree, work at an ice skating rink? Well, I did a little research, and the company basically needed to have lots of advertising, copyright material, promotional materials, and so got the person who had the English degree in as an ad writing / copyright expert, and the H-1B was approved. So, even if you think that there's no correlation, you should probably run it by the immigration attorney and see if there's a way of doing it. Now, with the H-1B, unlike most other visas, temporary visas that is, there's only a certain number per year that are issued. Now, with the H-1Bs, that means that there are 65,000 regular H-1Bs per year and 20,000 advanced degree H-1Bs. So, of course, the advanced degree is a master's degree or higher, meaning that you need at least the equivalent of a master's degree in order to get this particular H-1B. And there's different ways of proving equivalency, 5 years of progressive experience, an evaluation, so forth. So that's one way of doing it. Now, the H-1Bs open, at least to be able to file them, on April 1st of every year, and generally the time to actually start working at the company will be the following October. So, the H-1Bs, in my opinion, are a great way to gauge the economy, because many years ago when the economy was running full steam, this is what would happen. April 1st, there would be thousands and thousands of H-1Bs filed immediately because everybody wanted to get one. And then what would happen is immigration would find that they're almost at the max. They would still have thousands of FedEx envelopes at their site. They would then enter a lottery system where they would randomly pick, the last, 1,000 or 2,000 left, and then the rest of them would basically go back and say, sorry, didn't make it, try next year. So that's how it used to be. Then, of course, when the economy got bad, the H-1Bs were not only filed, they were left all year long. There were still H-1Bs available. And then starting about last year, for the first time in a while, all the H-1Bs did get used up, and they do seem to be on the rise again. So it's a great indication of the economy, because the less H-1Bs there are, the less companies there are to petition people for the H-1Bs. So the H-1B has some interesting characteristics. First of all, you can get an H-1B initially for 3 years, and then it can be renewed again for another 3 years. And then the law says that that's a maximum amount of time that you can be on H-1B. Then you have to leave the country, stay a year, and then you can come back on another status, or it's possible to try to change to a different status from H-1B. Now, given I just said that, there's a way around that. And if you do it properly, you will not have to worry about going out of status at all. There's a law that if you are applying for PERM, which is for the green card, and it's been pending more than a year, that you can do a yearly renewal of your H-1B until it until it's current. And that has nothing to do with the 6 years max. So take, for example, let's just say you're a computer programmer from India and you apply for a PERM, and let's pretend you apply tomorrow and it's approved 2 days from now, okay? That doesn't mean, boom, you have the green card. That means you're in line. There's a priority visa, a priority date that's been set, and you're about 5 to 7 years away from that being current, where you can actually move forward. So the way that this extension of the H-1B works is that as long as you're waiting for that visa number to become current, you can renew the H-1B once a year. And that is a great feature. The problem is it has to be pending for at least a year. So, obviously if you start the PERM process on your 5th year and 2nd month, there's no way you're going to have it pending for a year before you're able to go forward. So start on your 3rd or 4th year, and actually when my clients come in, the minute they get the H-1B, I say, look, do they want to petition you for a PERM, or does another company want to while you're on H-1B? So you get the process started right away, because most people who come here, they don't want to have to go back. They ultimately want residency. And just so you know, the path, a great path to take, and it takes a long time, but if it's done properly, you can come here on a visitor visa and end up as a citizen. And the way it works, you come here on a visitor visa, of course with the intention to visit, but then you change to F1 student, go to college, get your degree, then you get optional practical training, or OPT, then you change to H-1B for the work permit, then you change to PERM, or you file the PERM for the green card, and then you do adjustment of status, then you get your green card, and then ultimately you qualify for citizenship, and you become a citizen. Now, I know I said that whole thing in about 12 seconds, and it does take about 12 years, but it is possible to do it all if you properly get everything in the time it needs to be. Now, there is what is known as the portability provision. So if you have already been on H-1B and you want to change to another employer, then you don't have to do premium processing, and the moment it's filed, you can start working for that other employer. You do not have to wait for the answer from immigration like you normally do. Now, they have, of course, what's called the cap gap, where basically, I'll give you an example. You're a student and you finish in June, you apply for an H-1B, which doesn't start till October, the following October, and you would be out of status that time, and most of the time, in most other situations, you would not be able to file for the H-1B here in the United States. You'd have to leave. Well, in this situation, it is possible, if it's properly filed, to basically finish your student studies and then get the H-1B, okay, even though there's that gap. And also, if you do fall under the portability provisions, then there is no cap for you. So whenever you file, then you're able to start working, and you don't have to worry how many are left or not left. Okay, that's how the cap gap works. Now, with H-1B, it is possible, even if you don't have a degree, to file if you can get the equivalency of it. And the equivalency, again, is years of progressive work experience. It's a professional evaluation. And again, there's different ways of showing it. But for example, let's say all the regular H-1Bs are used, and there's 6,000 of the advanced degree H-1Bs, and let's say you've been in a business person for the last 22 years and you get petitioned for an H-1B, you can most likely show that with your bachelor's degree and the experience you have, that you have the equivalent of a master's degree, thereby being able to get in on the H-1Bs that are for advanced professionals only. Now, the H-1B can be applied for while you're outside the country. You don't have to be in the country. And then what happens is when it becomes current, you go to the interview, make sure everything goes okay, and then you come in on the H-1B. Your spouse and your children will all get H-4s, and the children need to be single and unmarried. But when they come in, your spouse is not allowed to work unless he or she gets specific authorization, and your kids, they will need to get specific authorization also to go to school. Okay, so there's a lot of benefits to the H-1B. As of right now, they're still open, so if you'd like to get a consultation on the H-1B, see if you qualify, see how to do it, you let me know, and I'll be happy to help. Okay, more in the coming videos.